Hey guys, welcome back to VM Nation. This is going to be a great episode. If you're transitioning, getting ready to transition, or if you're out and you don't know I don't know what happened, but we're good. Guys, welcome back to VM Nation. This is going to be an amazing episode. We're going to have fun talking about transitioning, coaches, and if you are a coach, you need a coach. So I just want to say that. We're going to talk about that with my friend, amazing person. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. The first one is me. As you can see, I'm usually the man in black like Johnny Cash, but today I'm feeling spring-like. So we got new gear that came in today. New hats, new t-shirts, new hoodies, and 22% of all of our proceeds go to help end veteran homelessness and veteran suicide. So if you like to rock the gear, I'll drop a link. Also, I want to thank our other sponsor, Kurt Balish of Balish Woodworks. As you guys know, a couple Mother's Days ago, I got my wife a cutting board from Balish Woodworks, and now it's the only thing she will actually use. So Balish, Kurt Balish, thank you so much for being a brother, an amigo. And also, so if you guys want woodworking for your home or your office, he will personally make it handmade. Check out Balish Woodworks. Guys, like I said, this is going to be a fun episode. Welcome, Coach. What's going on?
Hi, everybody. It's Rolande, Sumner. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me and being so patient. And I'm just really excited. Thank you.
Well, and I got to say, I want to say personally, because even though this is going to go out to like 1.4 million people, you were one of the first people to ever order my daughter's cookies from Girl Scouts. And I just want to personally, from my wife and myself, say thank you. Thank you for your support. So talk to us a little bit about, you're from South Carolina. Oh, I got to ask, Gamecock or...
Well, I'm from Massachusetts, and through the military, I set up shop for life in South Carolina.
Okay.
Well, I mean, honestly, neither team, they're both fine. I really should say Clemson because I don't want to.
All right, we got to go, guys.
Trouble.
We got. I
don't want to get in trouble by my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. They'll be like, "What?" Someone said Clemson, so I can stay out of trouble.
We're getting bad reception. We got to go. So tell us a little bit about talk about mom, talk about the family. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you became the person you are today.
So I'm a mom. I am a pet owner, which is a mom. I'm married, and I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm one of two, so my sister and I are like 10 months apart. And
what kind of little girl were you? Were you
I was sassy.
Were you good in school?
I was good in school. I worked really hard in school. I was sassy. So out of me and my sister was the quiet one. She usually listened better. She did what she was supposed to, and I was the mouth. So I got in trouble a lot, but I was sassy. I loved school because it was fun. It was like a social place to be. So I always got in trouble talking in class, and I liked school. When I was in high school, I figured that my mom wouldn't be able to pay for both me and my sister to go to school. So I joined the National Guard, and it was like a struggle because my mom was like, "No, you're not going to do it." And I was like, "Yes, I need to do it." And finally, me and my recruiter convinced her to sign the paperwork. And then I went on to Fort Lost in the Woods with their government.
All right. Well, first, I've had now. Oh, I just wanted to say today is our 401st episode. So I want to say thank you. I've, interviewed a lot of veterans, and I always love to hear the recruiting story. So what was your recruiting story like?
My recruiting story, I was 16 going on 17, and I was in Naval ROTC, but I couldn't swim. And I thought I had to swim to get into the Navy. I didn't have enough upper body strength to get into the Air Force. So I joined the Army National Guard. And the only reason I joined the Army National Guard over the Army is because I didn't want to leave my mom. I'm a mama's girl. I didn't want to leave my mom. I had spent like all these summers away living with other people, and I was like, oh, I just want to stay home. And yeah, he told me that if I wanted to get in, he was like, how bad do you want to get in? And I was like, well, pretty bad. So he said, your phrase is no, not never, I feel fine. No, like I've never had an injury. No, not never, I feel fine. I've never had an injury. I've been a perfectly healthy child. We've all had like bumps and bruises, but how MEPS is. It's almost impossible to get through because they want you to be bionic. So he was like, no, not never, I feel fine. I got through, and then I had to go on a plane to Fort Leonard Wood. So they were like, okay, all these kids get together at MEPS at 5 o'clock in the morning. They dropped us off at Logan Airport. And, all day we was just running through airports, a big group of kids, like 17-year-olds, like, where do we go? So that's my recruiting story.
So what was it like? Because I'm from Jersey. So, Jersey, people from Jersey, people from Boston, we kind of have a little bit of not an attitude, but
yeah,
we're kind of a little bit street smart, I would say. So
yeah.
what was it like being a 17, 18-year-old kid going to basic training? Like for me, I've never met a person from Alabama until I went to basic. So what was your experience like being around people from all cultures?
For me, it wasn't a big deal because my I was the first generation. Me and my cousins were the first generations up north. My family originates from St. Louis, South Carolina. So being around Southern people, it wasn't a big deal. Then on top of that, I went to J.B. O'Brien High School. It's an exam school in Boston. And it's like the United Nations up in there. Like you have Caribbeans, Cape Verdeans, you got Russians, you got somebody from everywhere. So meeting other people wasn't a big deal. What got me was there were people who never met Black folks in person. I was like, what do you mean? Like we're everywhere. And they're like, oh my God, I've never like actually met a Black person. Like I've heard of you guys. And I thought that was real strange. Like they were all enamored by our dark eyes. I'm thinking like their eyeballs. So there was a lot of questions, and that shook me. I was really surprised about that. To meet other people who hadn't been outside or experienced anybody who wasn't in their bubble. That was shocking. Then on top of that, I learned the meaning of nonverbal disrespect. Because my face, whatever my mouth doesn't say, my face does. So I got in a lot of trouble because I couldn't mouth off, so my face would say it. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it was an experience.
Now, I was in the regular Army, and then I retired. I got medically retired out of the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize, you hear that 2 weeks out of the, 1 week a month, 2 weeks out of the year. That's bullshit. If you guys are listening, it's total bullshit. Most National Guardsmen get deployed almost twice as much as a regular Army personnel. And, when you're in National Guard, you're not a soldier and you're not a civilian. You're kind of stuck in that middle. And usually if any wedding, anything's going on, it's going to be that drill weekend.
Yes, life happens on drill weekends. Like I missed birthday parties, cookouts, everything. You just knew when you was in the National Guard, you was going to miss out. You are a soldier and you are a civilian. So you straddle the line. Yeah. But you become more of a full-time soldier when you went AGR. So I did half of my career, a little less than half of my career as a traditional Guard soldier, an M-Day soldier. And then I did the rest of the other half of my career, the end half, the last 12 or 13 years as an active Guard reserve member. And what the regular Army didn't understand is as an AGR soldier, you did everything. Like you were your department. So in the regular Army, if you were human resources, you had somebody who did one type of transaction and someone else did another type of transaction. And you may never touch the other type of transaction ever again. And in AGR, it's a very, very tiny force. So you have several jobs. You might be human resources and a platoon leader, and you're doing like 8 other jobs. Like I was a heavy vehicle operator. I was a platoon leader for a hot second, or platoon sergeant for a hot second. I was also the human resources person. I did urinalysis. I was an AO at one unit because our AO wasn't available for a few months. I mean, you do whatever needs to be done, and you might have 2 or 3 or 4 MOSs. Like it's very common to just keep going to school for different MOSs so they can slot you accordingly. Then the other thing about National Guard members is because you have intermittent training, you have to remember what you're doing. You have to remember how it's done. You have to remember the regulation. There is no type of like, oh, let me study this on my off time. You got to remember it. And then on top of that, you're always being called up. So if there's like a weather, if there's any type of civil unrest, if there is a deployment, you get called up. Like you're doing more than 2 weekends a month in 2 weeks in the summertime. There are National Guard soldiers who are traditional National Guard soldiers who are on some type of orders at all time.
Especially if you're in South Carolina, because especially during hurricane season,
yes,
you might get pulled out. I got pulled out so many times. I didn't remember what home looked like. We used the drill floor, and that's where we stayed until all the hurricanes. But it seems like the National Guard is always, when it comes to funding, we always get the worst shit.
Yeah.
But as soon as something happens, oh, why don't you call the National Guard out? It's like,
yeah,
we have Humvees since the Iraq War.
I mean, you're gonna go. You are definitely getting deployed because you get new equipment. All of a sudden, you get new stuff. Like the supply sergeant has all these new things, and you're like, wait a minute, we must be going somewhere. You're having guests in the armory because the heat is on in the wintertime, and that's unusual. Usually, you're up in all your sweaters and stuff like that. And if the heat's on, we know there was a special guest. We knew in the summertime there was a guest coming because the air was on, and normally we didn't have the air on. So there was always these ways of saving some cash. And you pretty much figured out what was going on based off of what the environment was. Like if it was warm, if it was hot, artificially, if there was new equipment, if there were more meetings going on than normal, you knew something was up. So it's not just 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer. It's like a job. It's a part-time job, like a serious part-time job.
But, one thing I did love about the National Guard is, because for me, I was in Conway, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Go Coastal Carolina. Woohoo! My son's going to Coastal. But we became a family. Yeah. Everybody knew everybody's mama. We'd all go out and eat chicken bog, eat sweet tea, and it's different from when you deploy with the National Guard unit. It's your unit, it's your guys. Mm-hmm. Where it's different when you're regular Army. You might know the guys a little bit, mm-hmm. but you don't know cousin Tessie from back home. So it's a lot different being in a National Guard unit and being deployed. So did you get deployed at all?
Yes, I went to FOB Sharana. In 2012, 2013 through Fort Bliss. And where we were was in the mountains. So it was cooler. It wasn't blistering hot like Bath or Bagram Air Force Base. It was cooler. There was a lot less activity. And then we went during the time when they were closing down posts. So ours got closed, and then we moved to Bath. And it was warmer there. There was a lot more activity. But honestly, by the time we got to Bath, we were desensitized. So when everybody was running to bunkers, you can kind of tell who had been there for a while, because you're like, that bunker ain't going to help you. You were less likely to go to the bunker. You're like, I'm not putting on my helmet. I don't care. Just let this thing pass. So yeah, it was a very surreal experience.
Now, being over there, especially if you were in in the talk, or if if you're doing papers and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you got to deal with a lot of drama from home.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that when a person's deployed, unfortunately, a very high divorce rate, getting letters from home, and you have to. Soldiers are trying to deal with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like stuck in the middle because you're trying to handle everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is that like from your perspective?
From my perspective, I had to basically just tell my family, like, look, focus on um I can't focus on squabbles. Like, I can't focus on small things right now. You guys will have to figure out how you're going to work it out yourself. So my husband, we were newlyweds, but my husband kept my daughter. We both brought kids into the relationship. And my um, mom, she's really, she's old school. So there were things that she really wanted to do. And so they kind of bumped heads. They love each other, like really love each other. But they bumped heads. And so I would have to tell them, like, listen, y'all got to figure something out. Like, just the way my Jamie does things is not how I'm doing it. But is she eating? Is there a bath happening sometime during the week? Like, is she surviving? Is she happy? Like, is everything good? Then it doesn't need to be perfect. It was a tough time.
A lot of people don't realize that when soldiers deployed, their families deployed with them.
I didn't realize
Sometimes
that.
Sometimes they have to pick up double the load where, like if a mother's deployed, the father's home. Now the father has to pay the bills, feed the kids, take care of the home stuff while also worrying about his wife serving overseas. So talk a little bit about that.
So I took that for granted. I just assumed that, I was deployed and it's all about me. And it wasn't until I got home and we went through our own, friction in our own marriage where I discovered that we all deployed and it might have just been a little bit harder for them while I was gone. I didn't even account for my role in the household. Like, I was suicidal when I got home. And I just assumed, like, if I wasn't going to be here, they would be fine. And I learned that I was the glue in the household and they wouldn't be fine. And that when I deployed, they deployed. Like, they changed as people. It was tough for them as well, like really tough. I'm still working with my daughter's in therapy still, and I've been home for 10 years or so. And she's still trying to work out why she's still trying to work out me being gone, if that makes sense, because it was such a disruption. She was a kid, she was little.
Yeah.
She was like 7. And I'm thinking she's gonna have a great time while I'm gone, because her and my husband, they get along. And my husband, it was tough on him because he was like, you volunteered to leave us. And I'm like, I didn't leave you. I just went to go do my job in another country. Like, I'll be fine. Yeah. And he's like, but you chose to leave us. And I didn't think of it as me leaving them. I thought it was like me just going to do a job, like a long TDY, and I'll be home. And we had a lot of healing to do after that. It was tough.
I know, like I said, I've talked to over 400 veterans now. And one of the things is when you're deployed, we know who the common enemy is. We know what our job is. Mm-hmm. But then when we get home, we try to fit right back into the mother or the father role.
Doesn't.
And it's like the other person's like, hey, slow your roll. You have to kind of slowly work your way back in. And I think a lot of times, like for me, I was gone a lot of the times. My mm-hmm. daughter's 10 now, and I'm still trying to make it up to her. A girl needs her daddy, son needs, your kids need your mother or father. Mm-hmm. And I tried to rush back and be like, hey, here. And they're like, whoa, do I even know you?
Right? Like, hold on.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when we come home, even though we say we're the same, we're not the same people anymore. So what was your coming home experience like?
My experience is I was not the same person. Like I said, my mental health was fractured. Um, I didn't realize just how bad things were until about 6 months after I got home. Um, Maybe 8 months after I got home, I tried to take my life. And then I went through the medical board process, but I didn't realize just how I just wasn't the same. And I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want to be spoken to. I didn't want to be a mom. I didn't want to be a wife. I just didn't want to do anything. I was so very depressed and anxious and edgy. And like to this day, I still have flashbacks, but I can put them in its place now. But before then, like I would just be in you know how like you see the heat wave
Mm-hmm.
on like hardball.
Yeah.
I would see a heat wave and then I'd be in Afghanistan again. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. So I wasn't the same person. They weren't the same people. But I honestly like we just my husband and I put our head together and we were like, look, we're just gonna fight through this. So for a couple of years it was a little sticky. And then we were fine. We just, I got my mental health under control and we learned how to relive together again. Um, like you said, you're still, my daughter is 17 and I'm still, working with her. Um, but we just have to reestablish a new normal.
All right. So now you said you went through the med board process.
Yeah.
Now, I got hurt on duty. I did 23 years. I would have done 30. But if you can't see, you can't shoot. We don't need you. And so they medically discharged me. And that was Memorial Day 2012. And that was the day that I attempted suicide. Because the whole lead up to that, everything I was Sergeant Kaufman. Everything I was being the ultimate soldier.
Yes.
I'd volunteer for every class. I'd go, wherever you want me to go, I got you. You want me to volunteer to go AT early? I'll go early, stay late, whatever you want. But then when they said, you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman.
Yes.
And I'm like,
who am I?
I'm like, well, Richard, I don't know who Richard is.
Yes.
And, that day that I actually had to hang the uniform up for the last time totally destroyed me. So talk to us about that last day in uniform and what it was like going home.
So, without getting into details, I was ready to get out, but I wasn't. I thought I was going to get 90-day notice as to when I was going to get my DD-214 because that's what I was told. And I really got like a 3-day notice. I got a phone call saying you have to be down at state headquarters to get your 214. And then when I got there, it was like, well, why didn't you? I retired. I tell people 20 years because it's really like that close to 20 years. I got my DD-214 at 19 years and 10 and a half months. And so it was bittersweet for me. I got rid of all my uniforms, all my pictures, everything except for the coins, because I was just like, there was a lot that happened. The system wasn't kind to me. So I was like, I'm just going to erase this from my life. I regret doing it because I don't have any pictures. Like I don't have my service picture. I don't have any pictures. I don't have any like tangible memories. And at that time I was so in my emotions. I was like, get rid of it all. The only thing I have are my boots from Afghanistan and some coins. I don't have anything else. So for me, it was just like, get rid of it all. I want to wipe my whole entire life clear of it. So it was real bittersweet for me. It was a shock though, because I didn't expect to be lost. I didn't expect to sit down and be like, who are you? Mm-hmm. Like my first name was Staff Sergeant and my last name was Sumner. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I forgot what I liked. I forgot what I wanted to do. I have put my dreams, I burnt my dreams up to be in uniform. Like I took it that seriously. So it was a rough transition.
So
You know, I
what was the process of having to reinvent yourself? And
um
so how did that go about? You know, because a lot of times you get out of the military and you know the first couple of days it's cool, and then you're like, this really sucks. I have nowhere to go. I have nobody to talk to. I don't have a job. Where do I go? Where do I start? What was your process like?
it was trial and error, but basically what happened was I had gotten a job a few weeks after I got out. Maybe I got out in March, I got a job in June. We moved our whole entire family to this city that we're in, or to the neighboring city, which is 100 miles one way. And 2 weeks after my family moved, I got fired.
Damn.
So then thank God, because after I got fired, my husband got a job because we had to pick up everything and go. Um, and we had we're still in the house, but we had a bigger house, a bigger mortgage. It was just insane. And I went through, I was depressed. I felt thrown away because I had never been reassigned for poor performance. I always did good work until I got back from Afghanistan. I was struggling with my mental health. So then, I felt discarded because, the military doesn't discard you. They might reassign you, they might give you something else until you like and retrain you, but they don't just throw you away. I started a skincare business. I did that for a while, and I basically took a year off, which was what I needed. And then I went back to a regular civilian job, and I did that for a few years, and I didn't like it. So I went to coaching school. I discovered I didn't want to make skincare products anymore. I want to be a coach because that's what I kept doing in my advertisements, in my marketing, was just encouraging and empowering women veterans. So I went to coaching school. I started a coaching practice. And it wasn't until maybe the last year and a half where I feel like I am me. So I got out in 2014, no, 2015, and now we're in 2022, and it wasn't until a year and a half where I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm me. I don't feel like I'm transitioning anymore. Like one day I just woke up and was like, you know what? I can color my hair. So I went through this phase. I think I'm still a little bit in it, but I went through this phase where like every other month I had a brand new hair color, like bright pinks and blue, and cutting my hair off and growing it back, doing this. Um and now I feel like me, like I can do these things because you're kind of brainwashed. Like the regulation says your hair has to be a certain way, your nails have to be a certain way. And I got out before dreadlocks or locks were illegal. I got out before they started to allow you to look like a female. So when I got out, I mean, I look like a female in uniform, but when I got out, I was just like, you know what? I always wanted to straighten my hair. I wanted to have 9-inch nails. But it wasn't until a year and a half where I started to really feel like I wasn't transitioning anymore. Like I'm here.
Yeah,
It was a long time.
now I love my veterans, but I'm also this podcast is also we talk to a lot of I call them veterpreneurs, so they're
Mm-hmm.
veterans and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people when they get out of the military, now I'm guilty of it. I used to crack on them until I became one of them. But usually when somebody gets out of the military, they want to start a T-shirt company, hat
Mm-hmm.
company, coffee company,
Yes.
and then
Same three
coaching,
things.
and then But one thing I think the military taught us is even if you were only in basic, everybody knows what an SOP is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what a standard operation procedure is.
Mm-hmm.
But when we decide to go into business for ourselves, we don't have an SOP. We're just winging it. And then 6 months later, we're 10 grand in debt and don't know what the hell just happened to us.
So
So
this is the
talk to
thing.
us about going into business for yourself.
So this is my second business. The first business I shut down when it was starting to make money. And this is what I've learned. And I help women, other women, regardless if they're vets or not, start their own business. And what I've learned was you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know anything. This is brand new territory. So yes, those instinctual things that we have made muscle memory, like, order and getting things straight and having a plan, kick in, but they usually kick in after you know what you're doing. And so nobody's born a business owner. You don't come out the womb and know about taxes and know about inventory and market research and all that stuff. You don't know. What you know is your regulation that someone else wrote for you. You know how to follow what someone else is telling you to do. But for you to create something from scratch, like take it from the dirt, add water and mold it. You don't know how to do that, and it's okay. You're not supposed to know. So I had to give myself grace to understand that it's fine. It's fine that I didn't know. It's fine that I made mistakes. It's fine that I spent money and then I changed my trajectory or path or changed my business altogether. It's fine. Because without those experiences, I wasn't able to help other people do better. You're not supposed to know. Like this mentality that veterans are supposed to instantly know things because we've been through a tough career is ridiculous. It doesn't give us any room to learn. You don't know. Now, if you said, listen, I need you to like get these people in order so we can get something done. Okay, well, maybe you should have some idea of doing that. You should feel a little bit more comfortable. But business, you don't know. And a mistake isn't that $10,000 was not a failure. It was an investment in you learning something the hard way.
Now, a lot of people, or veterans, when they first start a business, we kind of have it where, all right, I'm a lone wolf, I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, for me, I didn't realize, if I wanted to be up there with the Jocko Willitzes, be up there with, the John Lee Dumases, I got to learn from them. I got to do what they do. I have to ask them to mentor me and, and have them coach me. So I want to get, and I believe that even people like, say, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, even when Michael Jordan went to NC, it was all about the coach. And for some reason, when we're veterans, a lot of us don't want to invest that money to get a coach. We rather get a smartphone than be taught how to be smart.
We're spoiled. Veterans are spoiled. And it makes sense. When you get in uniform, they're like, we're going to take away all of the things that are going to keep you distracted. So we're not going to make it so you have to we're going to teach you what you need to know and pay for it and feed you and house you while you're at it. We're going to give you health insurance that completely erases copays. Like you pay 69 cents a year and you're irate. We're supposed to be spoiled so we can focus 100% on the goal. So when we get out and it's like, I have to pay. Well, I didn't have to pay for my bachelor's degree. I didn't have to pay for like training. I didn't even have to pay for counseling. The idea of investing in yourself is foreign because someone invested in you. Like the average soldier to make from scratch in their infancy is $1 million. In their infancy, not when they're like E8, E9, like when they're at E4 and below, it's $1 million at least. So if you're used to having somebody invest $1 million worth of resources on you, you're not going to pay. You're not going to want to pay. On top of that, thankfully, the public loves us and respects us. And so we're used to being offered discounts. We're used to going into restaurants and people saying, I got your tab if you're in uniform. We're used to getting preferential treatment. And so when it comes to us actually making an investment in ourselves, we've already developed a mentality that it can't be worth it if I have to pay for it. Not that we don't want to pay for it, we're just not used to it. Our money mindset is different. So we have to learn that now that we're at a, even if we're in uniform, sometimes the best investment is the one you pay for in cash yourself. And when you're a business owner, especially in your infancy, you need help. You need to invest in someone who's been there, done that, got the Super Bowl ring, who can come back and say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to make different mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. But I'm going to teach you how to fail better. I'm going to teach you how to fail upwards. I'm going to teach you how to make a solid foundation so then when you do fail, you can quickly recover. I'm going to teach you how to take measured risks as opposed to just doing what other people told you to do and not thinking about where is their business, right? So we're spoiled. It's like when you have a child and you give your child everything and you go to the store. Case in point, my daughter's 17 years old and we've always, given her everything she wanted and needed. And then one day I had to tell her, like, you can buy your own shampoo. Like you're 17, like you don't have to spend all your money on clothes and food. Like you can buy your own shampoo. And she was like, oh, what do you mean? But it's natural for her to feel that way because we've bought her everything else. Why, in her brain, she's like, why would I have to start now?
And something I've noticed a lot is, and for this just happened the first time for me. It was this weekend, or yes, actually it was yesterday or Sunday. I've been out of the military 12 years, and if somebody always asks me, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a retired veteran, and for me, the first time somebody asked me this week, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a podcast host and I'm a producer. And it was the first time that I didn't have veteran in the line.
Yes.
I'm like, it's starting to make sense that, I am a veteran, but I'm not just a veteran. Yes. I have life, like for me, if I'm not here on the show, I don't wear any camouflage. I don't wear the hats. I don't wear any of that stuff, because I'm a veteran, but that's not who I am. You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of people, when they get out of the military, like if you go for a job and you put in a resume, and I've noticed this a lot, everybody puts in all the nomenclatures and all that stuff. And people look at it, their eyes glaze over, and they just put it to the side.
Yeah, because they don't know what they're reading.
So talk to us about, for in your experience, if somebody's getting ready to transition out or have transitioned out, what are some things they can do to reinvent themselves and maybe even to start their own coaching business? How do you start?
So the first thing first is don't expect to be perfect. And just understand that there is a great possibility you're going to change. What you thought was a great idea on Monday may not be a great idea on Friday, and that's okay. Be okay with change. Be okay with the metamorphosis, right? And with any metamorphosis, there's going to be some flaking and there might be a little aches and pains, but it's all for the good. To be a coach, technically, you don't need training. You can just say you're a coach and then get some insurance and start coaching. However, I tell anybody who wants to be a coach to go to coach training, get training, because there are techniques in coaching and there's a like a psychology with coaching that is very different than what other people think, right? People get coaching and consulting mixed up. Coaching is me taking you where you are and moving you forward, but it's asking you empowering questions so you can learn about yourself in the process. In that, you may give me permission to give you some input, but you might say, no, I don't want your input. Okay, that's fine. It's all about what that client wants. It's their agenda. Mentorship is a mixed agenda. A lot of times, mentorship is about the mentor, really. What can I offer you? Like, I'm going to offer you help, and in exchange, you're going to do something for me. So, in a corporate setting, it's I'm going to offer you help. In exchange, you're going to give me information that I don't have access to because I'm too high up on a chain or what have you. Consulting is when you pay me to either do something, train you to do something, or a little mix of both. And you're going to use some coaching in consulting because you do want your client to understand their own power and their own answers, and you want to help program their thinking so you're irrelevant. They no longer, like, you want to kind of like help them to the point where you no longer have a job and you just move on to someone else. But people get it all mixed up. If you want to be a real coach, like a coach, you got to go to training. Go to a board certified training. You can look into the International Coaching Federation or BCC and look for some accredited schools, and they will train you how to be a coach. They will train you techniques. They will train you ethics. There's a whole ethical system behind being a coach. Honestly, what you pay out and being a coach and getting your credential, it comes back to you, right? You get it back when you start to serve your clients. Some schools the military will pay for it. There's some conditions, but sometimes you can get your GI Bill or what have you to pay for it. If you're serious about coaching, you might as well go ahead and work on getting your credential because it opens you up for way more opportunities. But if you're like, look, I just want to call myself a coach, then you can do that right now.
No, but I also
I've been doing that though.
Like, I've been known as the comeback coach for 30 years because I worked with players from NFL, Major League Baseball, WWE. But I love it when I see a 24-year-old kid and he's like, "Yo, I'm a life coach." I'm like, "Life coach? I got boots that are older than you."
Okay, so this is the thing, right? A coaching is a combination of all your experience. So if he's a life coach, he might be a great life coach for someone who's lived up to his age, right? Now, am I going to work with you? Probably not, because I want to work with somebody who's in their 40s, or not even in their 40s, but who is very specifically niched. The best coaches and the coaches who make the most money have a niche. They specialize in something. So my sales coach is in her 20s, but she is a rock star in sales. Oh yeah, you're going to help me out. I don't care how old you are. You make tons of money. You're going to help me, right? So you want to find somebody who is a specialist in a specific area.
I love it. Yeah, that's what I specialize in resiliency. So that's my talking mental health, resiliency, health, fitness. But but you see a lot of people that are coaches out there. But for me, I believe in social proof. Like if you look on my timeline, you'll see me with General Petraeus. You'll see me with all these people. You have to have some kind of social proof in order to be taken seriously, because you can say you're a coach, and then if somebody looks up on your social media and you're not coaching anybody, you're not seen as a coach by anybody, it kind of puts a damper on it. What do you think?
Okay, so there's two sides to it, right? When you're new, the only people you have to coach is people you're training with. So what you do is you put out content specifically around what you offer. This is something I train my clients in Business Launch Prep School. I help them develop their own signature program. And from their signature program, it's an outline for them to do content. Because it's very narrow. It talks about a specific thing, and you can talk about that all day long. You put out content because people want to get to know you. They want to get to understand your voice. They want to get a feeling of you. So you just put out content. You do videos, you do blog articles, whatever you do, you just do it consistently. And then once you start to work with people, regardless if they're pro bono, they paid $1, they paid $1 million. Then as you work with them, you ask them for you ask them for reviews. So some of the best reviews are video reviews. And while you're on the conversation with them, like we are right now, you might say, hey, I'd like to take a piece of this and use it as a video review. Are you okay with it? And they'll say, yeah, sure. Why not? And then I've only had one person say, well, I want to wait. Okay, fine, whatever. But sure, why not? And then you'll ask them questions about where they started, what happened during their transition, and how do they feel today or after the result has come. And they talk about it, and you take that clip and you post it all over the place. You use the verbiage and you put quotations around it. You just reuse it, recycle it. And that's how you start to develop your credibility, because people will give you reviews as you work with them. They don't have to be under your LLC to be your client. I'm a subcontractor. I work with another organization. I can't say their name without their permission.
Yep.
And so if I needed a review, I wouldn't ask their client, because it's their client. I would ask the organization, can you give me a review or a testimony of my work? Or can I ask your clients if I can do that? But there's ways you can build your credibility in your business infancy so that people learn to trust you. Because at the end of the day, you are a subject matter expert on a specific thing or specific things. I do a few things. And so people will start to get to know you for those specific things, and you'll either get word of mouth referrals, or you'll get opportunities that pop up and you apply for subcontracting, which is not employment, or you will just hire them directly yourself. So there's ways you can do it without having pictures with big clients. But you have to be consistent. You need to put out content. People need to understand that you know what you're talking about and you can help them.
Now, like one of my mentors, his name is Russell Brunson. He owns ClickFunnels.
Yes.
And something that he's taught me over the last months, which I'd never really thought about, is I started looking over my friends' social media. And usually it's always business, business, business. And he was talking about that, you should pick 5 different things that you post about. For me, it's faith, family, podcasting, veterans, and recovery. And he says, because people want to know about you. For me, they want to know, I got a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful children. They want to know stuff like that, because people, if they see you winning all the time, they're actually going
to question your authenticity. Like, are you real?
And, because like a lot of people, and it made sense to me. If you see somebody that's winning all the time, but they don't have any down at all, you really don't relate with them after a while.
And they don't live a real life.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a practice though, because for me, I'm like, it's hard for me to like talk about regular everyday things, because I think my life is boring. But those who let it all hang out usually have like a great following. They just like let their mess just be messy. Their clients are lined up like, I need to work with you today. Yeah. So it's true. Like, just let it all hang out. There's a coach I'm following. Her name is Jay Stone. I hope to work with her in the future. And she just lets it all hang out. Cuss words and everything. Like, just cuss words, Jesus, marketing, everything, just life. And it's comforting, because it's like she's a hot mess and she's doing great things. So I can relate to her. It makes you more relatable.
So my last 2 questions is, number one, how do we find you? How do we support your mission? How can we get you to coach us?
Okay, so I'm going to send you my LinkedIn link, but you can find me. The best place to find me is on LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn. And guys, if you are not on LinkedIn, you are missing. I think I'm spending more time on LinkedIn than I am on any other social media platform. So if you're sleeping on LinkedIn or TikTok, shame on you.
On LinkedIn, like it's Rolanda Sumner, S Sumner, and it's right there in my name title. LinkedIn is like a gold mine. If you have a good complete profile that tells people what you do, you will get phone calls from people wanting to work with you in a myriad of ways. Like I'm a subcontractor. I just put in a proposal to be an executive coach for somebody. I don't know if it's going to go through, but I'm really hopeful. I have my own coaching practice where I have my own program, business launch prep school. I do leadership coaching. I do a myriad of things, and I get job offers. I get coaching opportunities. It is a hotbed. It's awesome. Don't be afraid of it. It's a lot more approachable than people feel that it might be. Just make sure your profile is up to date and it's clean and it's comprehensive. It's not like you can get through 6 seconds and be out there. Some people are going to be snarking like, oh, I don't know why you emailed me. Okay, I just won't email you again. No big deal. Most people, LinkedIn is great because people are on there to either do business, do work, pay, or be paid. Like they know it's very professional, and some form of exchange is going to happen at some point. Even when people say, oh, I just want to network. What is your purpose for networking? Because if you just want to make friends, you can go on Facebook. If you want to have attention, you can go on Instagram. On LinkedIn, you're here for something. I just want to network for business, for a job, to help someone or to be helped. And that's where you can get really good high ticket clients. And not that you need to think of clients as high ticket, but you deserve to be paid 4 to 5 figures for your knowledge and work. Coaching is more than just talking and listening. It's a lot that goes into it. And you need to be compensated appropriately. So LinkedIn is a great place to be.
I love it. So last question I have. Oh, so if we want to do you have a website or anything that we can go to?
Yes. The website that's up right now, because one of my websites is being worked on. The website you go to for my program. Hold on, let me edit the name so you can see it. There's Rolande Sumner.com. Here it is. Boom. RolandaSsumner.com. That talks about the private side of my business, mostly business launch prep school. And then I should be relaunching the corporate side of my business, Lasco.vet, in a couple of weeks. But right now, I just have RolandaSsumner.com.
I'm going to be promoting you everywhere. But the last question I have is, I ask this 1,000 people and I get 1,000 different answers. We live in a crazy world right now. We're still in COVID. Mm-hmm. So, I just had one of the Iron Chefs on last week from the Food Network. And he said, we've lost over 100,000 restaurants in the United States in the last 2 years. So we have a lot of people that are driving DoorDash, mm-hmm. Uber Eats, just trying to make a living. Mm-hmm. So if I ask the average American to do something in 7 days, they're pretty much never going to get to it. Mm-hmm. But if I ask somebody that's listening to us right now to take an actionable step in the next 24 hours, mm-hmm. they're more than likely. So I'm going to ask you a two-part question. Mm-hmm. If somebody is struggling, number one, with their mental health, mm-hmm. and number two, if somebody's struggling in their business, mm-hmm. what actionable step can they take in the next 2 hours, in the next 24 hours in both those areas?
If you're struggling with your mental health, I want you to call someone right now. Richard has some contact information that he can give you. Contact Richard via his inbox immediately and get help. The VA, the military, they falter in a lot of things, but they will get you some help. And oftentimes it doesn't cost anything. Your life is important. You are loved, even though you don't feel like it. You have something to contribute in the world. You will be missed. So reach out to Richard so you can get some of those free resources, or whatever resources he has, so you can get help. Don't worry about the cost. God will provide.
Yeah, always.
If you're trying to start your business, reach out to me through my inbox and I will guide you in the right direction. If I can't work with you, I will send you in a direction for someone who can. Because I don't believe in cheating people. Like, we either can work together or I'll send you to a friend who can.
I love it.
But reach out to me in my inbox and I'll answer you back and I'll give you some honest answers.
I love it. Now, if you guys noticing, I've been sipping. I actually came out with my own brand new coffee. For people that were in the military, we used to have that black coffee, high octane, didn't taste so great, but it was great energy. But so I came out with a brand new product called Vertical Momentum Coffee. It's a dark roast coffee with twice the caffeine of anything else. And I'm actually giving this away. To somebody. $30 bag of coffee if they want to join our coffee club. And the link will be down below. So if you guys love coffee, I would love for you to check it out. Guys, I want to thank our sponsors. Thank you for guys always wearing our stuff and our gear. Remember that anything we sell, whether it's my books, hats, t-shirts, coffee, whatever, 22% goes back to help veterans struggling with homelessness and mental health issues. So it's always paying it forward. Kurt Balish, I want to say thank you. So I just want to say thank you for being a sister from another mister. And hopefully our relationship just starts today, and hopefully it'll be a generational relationship.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I really do appreciate you. Please send me a link to your coffee because my husband loves caffeine.
Okay.
Like, the stronger it is, the more. If you can took like a whole bag and crush it into a shot, he would just love it. So,
yeah, I think he'll like this. So,
all right, send me a link and I'll buy a bag.
I'm so excited. So definitely check her out. Check out everything she got going on. Check her out on LinkedIn. Just for having her in your life, it makes your life a lot better. Guys, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Vertical Momentum. Remember that, like I always say, vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the flip. Love you guys.
Thank you.